In this video, I'm going to give you an introduction to automation in Traction 5. So we're not going to get into great detail, but I want to show you how to do the basics of volume and pan automation, and then how you could automate other parameters if you'd like, using either manually drawing in the curves or by entering the automation rate mode. So let's get started by just taking a look at pan and volume automation. Now, the secret to automation on a track is this little A right here. And so if we wanted to add automation from any of the plugins along here onto this track, we grab this A and then drag it and drop it on the thing that we want to automate. So if I want to automate volume, let's just do the simplest thing first. You drag the A for the track and drop it here, select volume. This allows us to do detailed volume adjustments by basically just drawing them in. So if we had a phrase and we wanted to bump it up a little bit, you can put nodes on either side of it. Now with the nodes added, as you start to drag, you'll see the whole line goes up. But if you hold down Command, if you're on a Mac, or Control on a PC, you'll see that it actually breaks that free and allows you to make volume adjustments like this over a phrase. So that's one extremely useful thing you can do with automation. The other thing you might want to do, which I showed you before when we were talking about folder tracks, is if you wanted to do a fade out, then you can put in some of these curves, drag the node down, and then use this to shape your fade out. If you have an angled line like this, you can use this curve then to shape your fade out. Now, once you've drawn in automation like this, it will actually perform that automation during playback, provided you have automation read turned on right here. This is the automation read. Now watch what happens when this is on. I'm going to turn the loop off, and I'll play through this fade, and if you actually watch the volume, you'll see that it will do a fade out on playback. You need this on, and we'll go ahead and hit play. And you can see that it automatically turned that right down. Same thing over here where I've got this little step up in volume. Watch as I play back through that step. Watch this control right here. You can see it just jumps right to that step. Now, to do something a little more interesting, let's automate the panning. So the same thing, we just grab this A, drag it to this object, and select pan. Now we've got the pan curve. And here I'll put in a couple of nodes. Now if I drag this, I can pan one way, and then below it, it should pan the other way. So that will allow me to create a little kind of back and forth call and response thing between the two sides. It might not be what I want, but it's kind of a good example of how you can use panning. Again, I have to have the read mode enabled. I'll click back here, and you should clearly hear the panning side to side. You already see that with it up, I'm panned off over to the right, and then if I put the cursor where it's down, it's panned off over to the left. And then if I wanted it to wind up in the middle, then I just grab this line and put it here. That should be in the middle. Now this curve has its own properties. If I click right on the curve and look down in the properties section, I can scale the curve. So if I scale it, you can see it brings it back in. I can also displace it, which means offset it up and down. That's really more useful for volume. And if you don't really like that curve at all, you can just delete all the points from the curve and it becomes a flat line again. Now, if you want to see what automation is available or active on this track where you've actually written in something, if you click on the A itself, you can look and you'll see the active parameter curves. Now, we just deleted everything, so the pan is no longer active. But using this, I can now bring back the volume curve like this. And now that I see that curve, I can edit it, I can simplify it or remove points. There's quite a lot of things we can do. You can also automate parameters within other kinds of plugins. And to see what's available, like I could even automate the send for the reverb, or I could automate the delay. So if I want to automate the delay plugin, just drag the A over to there, and you can see I can automate the feedback. And I can actually write that automation in while playing back. If I enable automation write down here, this is automation write, during playback I can actually manipulate these parameters. So I'm going to do that and adjust the feedback during playback. And then when I stop, you see I've got that curve is all written in there. It's really cool. If I select this, I can even simplify the data. So there is a option right here, simplify only in the marked region or the entire curve. And then we can do medium, and it takes out a lot of the superfluous automation points. So it's really kind of cool. Another thing is if you don't want to see the automation right on the track, the automation's not really tied to this specific track. So if I take this feedback automation, I can create a new track just to hold the automation. So I'm going to do that right now. Click the track, right click, and then we'll create a new track. This will be just automation for the guitar, so I'll name it appropriately. Now from my automation track, I can drag from here up to this delay and choose the feedback parameter. You can see that now I have it on its own track. And some people recommend that you delete these if you're creating an automation track, just so that it's kind of clear that it's not really an audio track of any sort. But this gives you a really interesting way. You could even take this and put it into a folder track. There's also a great MIDI learn feature, so you can tie knobs from your controller in and use hardware to do the automation. Check the Traction website because I did do a video on how to use that that's actually already up on the Traction website. So that's a quick introduction, kind of a survey of the automation features in Traction 5. Thanks for watching.